came back with a bang. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Ayy, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm get to the bag. Ayy, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast. Ayy, ayy, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss. Ayy.
This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Monday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys. I'm going to bring her up in a second. Daylight savings was obviously this weekend, and it literally showed in my outbound calls this morning the amount of people who just didn't answer or didn't want to talk this morning, because again, your boy actually cold calls shippers every single day. And it is very evident, you guys. And that's what I love about Arizona the most. We have to deal with that stuff out here. All right. There is no such thing as daylight savings. And anyways, though, you guys, speaking of staying on top of it, today's topic, you guys, training and development, is something that I hold very near and dear to my heart, as does my guest. She has excelled at this for a very long time. She's done this. She's out on her own now, ladies and gentlemen. So if you guys do want to bring somebody in, she is somebody who I would highly recommend for that. And that is Eileen Dabrowski. Eileen, thank you so much for taking the time to join me this morning.
Thanks, Chris. It's always a pleasure to be here. And training and development is what got me into this industry a very long time ago. So when you were like, let's talk about this, I was like, say less. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think, being out on my own for the last, 5+ years, building a system that I can follow every single day that moves the needle forward, that's a major hurdle for a lot of people. And, I literally put a post out there about this morning, because as I'm approaching 40, I'm trying to think what are those things that I would wish I could go back and change, right? And to me, it was about that sense of urgency and really stopping approaching the biological clock that a lot of us do. I mean, I'll wait till Monday, or now that it's November, how many people out there are oh, that's a 2026 problem and everything else. And before you know it, you wake up and you're almost 40, and you're comfortable in your role and everything else, and you're you didn't actually do what you wanted to do. And I don't know of any organization out there that I've met, any leadership, that when it comes to training and development in particular, is overtly satisfied with where they are. They are always hey, we got to do this. This is always on top of everybody's agenda.
1000%. So I'm smiling because, first of all, now that I'm over 40, I can tell you it only gets worse. So buckle up, my friend. Before we hopped on, Chris and I were talking about the importance of self-care, and we both work out to stay sane. And if we didn't have that, what I'll say is self-care is something Chris and I have actually talked about before, but if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of your people. And that's what we're here to talk about today, is taking care of your people. And what's interesting, training is always thought of kind of like some of the other helping roles, like a cost center and not a revenue lever. And I'm really big on shifting that paradigm and getting people to understand that if you invest in your people, your processes, and then your tech, you are going to generate ROI, and you are also going to generate things that matter, like employee satisfaction, like preventing attrition, like letting your carriers and your shippers talk to the same humans on a consistent basis who are well-trained, who care about those people and understand the impact. Chris, your post this morning spoke about urgency. And I think that's something that is so easily lost in our world today. Like, let's get the BS out of the way first. It's very hard and expensive to be a human alive today.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I don't remember it ever being harder. And, you know, Chris and I both work a lot operationally as much as on the shipper side. And I think we forget that if we're struggling as humans, our carriers and our drivers and the folks that have additional higher operating costs are struggling. And that's a really important thing to keep and remember, that human piece.
I agree. And I see a lot of it out there right now. I mean, like, especially with the ELPs and the driver community that is out there. And, you know, like I've said this on my show countless times, and I'll say it again. You know, there are a certain set of rules that are out there. I just want everybody to follow the same set of rules that I have to follow. And, you know, whether it's an HB1 visa program for a driver or a work permit, whatever it is, as long as they're following the system that's in place, they're doing everything right in my eyes. And that's my stance on it. And I think, like, with where things are, and especially now with ELPs in particular, I think that it's going to drive like, they're going to do the easy way out with drivers is, you know, because it's a very subjective thing. Because, you know, again, I've been doing this a long time. You've been doing this a long time, Eileen. And I kind of grapple with the fact, like, yes, I understand that a driver needs to read and speak English to operate, you know, and I get all of that. But it's the subjective nature that is seemingly kind of coming to light that I don't like. And I want a set playing field out there, right? Like, and I truly feel like the FMCSA and the DOT, they are the governing body of this industry. If they have a set guideline out there, it should be administered by all 50 states. There should be no loopholes. There should be no party divide. It's very cut and dry for me, because I feel like ultimately the people who are doing it the right way are going to suffer way more than the people who are not, because shocker, criminals don't care about the law. They're going to continue to do shit no matter what.
No, I totally agree with you. And it's so funny. Anytime we get an idea at a federal or legislative level, and then I agree, it gets to be cherry picked, and where are we going to enforce it? Where are we not? Who's going to be applicable? Who can find a loophole, right? We already live in the Grand Canyon of gray in transportation. So much of what we do is that gut reaction, and SWAT training is so important. But it's about the reason that the ELPs were born is to promote safety, because I do believe across the board, you have to at least be able to read a safety sign. And I say that knowing English is one of the hardest languages to learn on the planet. I can speak firsthand on that experience. It's awful. But again, this is about when you're grossing 80K plus and you're driving in conditions that are crazy, we want to know that you know how to take care of yourself and the 80K you got behind you. So it's really sad to see, because I agree with you, the people who are doing everything they can from a training, from a change management, from a rollout to their team level are going to be negatively impacted. And it should be the total other way around, right? The people who are pretending this doesn't exist are not really concerned about safety and are going, well, it's not technically my fault, right? F it, I don't need to know it. I think that's where this industry gets a little mucky.
No, it really does. And, you know, with what Secretary Duffy was saying this weekend, again, I feel like it's very, like, how are you going to accurately enforce that, right? When it comes down to, like, shippers and brokers needing to do that. And again, like, then this is coming from a guy who talks to every single driver that comes on to our freight, right? And again, that's where the subjective nature comes in, because I work with drivers from all backgrounds that are out there. And yeah, you could argue one side or the other if you really want to nitpick, but it doesn't impede their ability to do the job. And I think, like, again, this is always going to work into, from my perspective, when you're out there and you're a freight brokerage, you are going to excel when you're working with the same providers time and time again. Like, when you have that in-network carrier utilization, that is how you're going to insulate your customers from a lot of what's going to come. Because again, I think, like, we're just at the tipping point. I think that the bullwhip effect of this, Eileen, is I think we might actually see a lot higher push of fraudulent providers out there in the meantime, because again, you have to have standards. I am not against having standards and enforcement of said standards, but at the end of the day, there is a negative effect of this, that this could cause a mad dash to be like, hey, if they're going to crack down on this, we got to get everything we can for the next 6 months, and then they might disappear. And again, I think like that's a consequence of this. But again, it needs to happen, yes, but it's also how are you preparing your organization and your customers' freight for that potential increase in it?
Yeah, and I think, so there's two things that I'll add to that, Chris. Could not agree more, right? This market is so interesting. We're seeing a mass exodus. We're seeing bankruptcies. We're seeing M&As kind of everywhere. And long tenured carrier operations have closed, and we're sadly probably going to see some more. Same thing on the smaller brokerage side, as things continue to be, larger brokerage side as things continue to get tough. The reality is the ability to quickly pivot in today's industry is one of the things that I think sets people apart. Right? If somebody tenders me a load over first thing in the morning, man, I should be able to move that very, very rapidly. Qualify, right, vet, and move it. The other thing that I'll say, and the reason I think training is so important, the people that are going to succeed and do well in kind of this, we'll just call the market what it is. It's garbage, right? Yep. It's been rough for most people. The people who are going to do really, really well understand the importance of getting to know their carriers and their shippers beyond the superficial level. Like if the only questions you're asking a carrier are what's your MC, where's your home base, how many trucks you have, you're doing yourself a disservice, because I want to know who are my contacts? What do I need to know about them as a human? What do they like to do as humans? What do they care about? What are they passionate about? Where are their power lanes? Where are they struggling? And guess what? The shipper side too. I'm talking entry-level shipping clerk who can work me in an appointment. I want to know that Donna loves cats, has 3 grandkids, likes to go shopping, whatever it is, because it's those human elements and relationship building in our industry, regardless of which side of the street you're on, or if you're on both, it is the single-handedly most important thing, I think, that people need to remember in all that they do. It doesn't matter who you're talking to, treat them like a human, show them you give a crap about them, and teach your people to do the same. That's why training is important.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Eileen. And, and I think that there's also a false sense of how this market recovery is going to happen out there. I don't know if enough people truly understand how a market shift works. I think like the more and more I pay attention on social media, the more and more I realize that there's a false sense of how this is actually going to go down. I mean, because like I've been saying since June of 2024, brokers will suffer way more in this next market shift than any carrier, legitimate carrier. I want to preface that by saying legitimate carrier will. I think legitimate carriers are about to have a massive rebound that comes up here. But when you talk about a market recovery or a rebound, the fact of the matter is, you guys, shippers, manufacturers are not going to want to increase their prices at all. And what you will start to see is there is still enough adequate capacity on the market where the current network that they have onboarded is probably going to be able to balance that out for the foreseeable future. And I would argue, and this is just today's opinion because nothing has really changed, but today's opinion is this is probably how it's going. This is going to last until maybe summer of next year is where my gut is, before shippers and manufacturers might have to look outside of their current network. And I did a show about this a couple of weeks ago. That's why I think going into a market shift, the best position you can be in is in a spot market opportunity, because again, if you're bidding on freight right now for 2026 in an RFP capacity, and you are not guessing that there is going to be an increase at all in 2026, I feel like your service failures are going to go through the roof. And then that's where individuals like myself, who cold call every single day, who are patiently waiting in the wind. I am not an overly aggressive seller. Might be a fault of mine, but like I just like to have everybody know who I am and what I do. They're eventually going to start replying to me at that time, because when you're coming off of years of a soft overcapacity market, people forgot what a load failure looks like. People forgot what freight sitting on a dock looks like. And their tolerance and their appetite, shippers and manufacturers, is going to, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a one strike policy here where they're like, oh, you can't do this one, boom, you're done. And then you're out. And then you're shut off for years to come. How
Many
many?
of my clients are seeing that exact thing right now. And I think that focus on service, and you said something else, Chris, that I think is really important. Understanding how that load affects your shippers and their business model. And then also on the flip side, understanding how that load affects your carriers and the drivers you use, because everything is dominoes, right? We miss one appointment. What does that mean to the larger supply chain? We're late. What does that mean? Right? We don't show up at all, or miscommunication, or dispatch a truck to the wrong location, whatever it is dominoes. And in this market, nobody can afford those mistakes. And again, it goes back to those three things: people, process, and tech. You can have the best people in the world, and that should be where you pour your development and your focus on, because it doesn't matter how great your tech is. It doesn't matter if you have the prettiest processes in the world. If you don't take care of your people and reinforce that training, it's all going to go to hell. And in this market, nobody can afford that. Mistakes cost customers and cost carriers, and we can't really lose either right now.
And I also look at it like this as well, Eileen, in today's time. Like, this is the first time where you're having a massive new shiny toy push out there of technology, to where, again, I think like there's going to be a camp that over automates way too much. And I think like people are they're never going to focus on how do you deep sell with your current customers, because you understand this now a lot more than most, Eileen, because you own your own company. How much, if you're looking at it from a business development perspective, how much cheaper is it to service your current customers at a high level than it is to go out there and try and find new business, right? Like, it is an expensive process to develop new business. And sometimes people overlook that relationship with a customer and how much building loyalty can come. Like, I only know one customer at a time mentality. I've only known uncertainty in the economy because like I've been self-employed since 2020. So it's like I've never really been in a boom market, whether it be in freight or my media stuff, to where I can not look at it that way. And that's a massive benefit, because I know what it's like when nobody answers the phone. I know what it's like when I didn't have any revenue. So now that I have it and I have developed that consistency, I am going to fight like hell to keep that. So if you think I'm not going to take a loss on a load, if you think I'm not going to do my absolute best to do the right thing in every situation, you have completely overlooked who I am as a person at this point. I've not always been this way, right? Like, I didn't feel this way at a certain point in my life, but now with where I am today, and I know, and especially building a book of business in this market, because we grew 76% year over year between our fiscal years, these last 2 years. And it, like, legitimately 70% of that growth was from existing customers that we grew with. And I'm sure my business partner is going to listen to this and be like, no, actually, because he's the numbers and he could probably tell you the exact percent. But I look at it as, and this is coming from somebody who follows the system every single day. Like, we're making cold calls every single day. We're doing that cold outreach. An area of improvement that we have implemented is we let a lot of opportunities fall between the wayside, because again, as a startup, we balanced growth, and our new business development kind of fell to the wayside for a little bit there, because again, we had to service our actual real revenue dollars. So now, again, back to the systems and processes and training, we have implemented the CRM. And again, I'm waving the white flag, you guys. I was wrong on CRMs. You need one. It is one of those, it is a phenomenal investment. And I say that as somebody who preached Excel spreadsheets and Google documents until I started going through all of them and uploading them into my CRM and seeing lost opportunity after lost opportunity after lost opportunity, because I wasn't following up in a way that I should have. And now with the right systems, technology, processes that are in place, we're going to continue to grow with that. And that's a piece of technology. Shout out Sales Dash. You need to hit up Josh Lyles. That is a game changer for our organization to help us stay on top of this stuff.
Yeah, Chris, you said I totally agree with all of the things you just said. You and I are so aligned just as humans and how we do business, which is why I think we're here, right? But I think, you mentioned the overinvestment into tech. So first of all, you shouldn't just buy tech because it's new and shiny. Like, let me just go ahead and say that. Don't buy tech just because it's pretty and it's solving other people's pain. Yeah. So many people overinvest in tech and they haven't even done like a baseline usage. Like, what is my current tech doing for me? Yeah. Like, that's a lot of what I help some of my clients do. Because if you don't know how to use your tech to the best of your ability, you're doing your people a disservice, because that's where employee dissatisfaction comes for. And that's where we pull revenue generators out of revenue generating activity and bury them in manual data hell, right? Yeah. We don't want to do that. So know your tech, know the capabilities, and actually train your people on how to best use the tech, right? That's a huge miss for most people. And guess what? That's never done, because tech is always updating.
Yeah.
The other thing you have to understand is how you roll out change to your team. So you can't just buy tech and then expect it to solve all of your organizational problems or all of your inefficiencies. If you don't slowly roll it out and involve key members in your team in that new adoption of that tech and make them feel like they're part of the process, whether you call them an agent of change, whether you call them an informal leader, whatever that terminology is to you, get your key people who are movers and shakers on your floor involved in kind of being early adopters or beta testers of that tech, so they can advocate for the rest of the team using it. If you don't know what it's like to use something at the desk level, then you shouldn't be involved in the decision making of it, right? Yeah. So involve your people in the things that are going to change how they work.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And, we're in a unique position now where it's like, we've actually paused, like looking to hire people, because we're like, hey, let's work this stuff out now internally. So then when we do hire, we already have the systems in place for it. And again, I'm out here, like 100% of my day now, Eileen, is business development, right? So I am only cold calling, I'm only doing sales emails, I'm only doing sales videos, social media, stuff like that. And I've noticed, because it's like before, I was making like 50 cold calls a day, not every day, right? And I was making 50 cold calls if we weren't busy servicing our current customers. And now that we've implemented technology, to your point here, I've scaled it back to where it's like I'm doing 35 touches a day now. Yep. So I can make sure that like I'm uploading everything properly into the CRM. I'm taking my time. And some people, like, it's not a step back at all. It's actually a necessary step forward, because if you're going to make this investment out there, you need to maximize it for what it's there for, as opposed to collecting dust in your tech stack because you're not using it. And then that frustration inevitably builds up. And you're like, oh, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. No, it is very much worth it from an organization, not the company, like, or staying organized in your day-to-day. It is imperative for me to have something like that to keep accurate notes about what's going on. Where are my touch points that are out there? Because it's not just a one silo of selling anymore, right? Like, you need to be able to leverage cold calling, emailing, DMs, site visits. It's a 4-pronged approach that you have to hit now, because again, there's 20-some thousand freight brokerages that are out there. How are you going to stand out in the crowd to that 5 to 7 core shippers that you ultimately are going to onboard to build your book of business with?
Exactly. And you mentioned shippers are not jumping right now. The cost of a shipper changing a provider, I'm not going to say they're not jumping, but like statistically, it's way less. You mentioned focusing on existing accounts. Could not agree more. Think about each shipper's freight spend, right? What percentage of that do you have? Because if you don't own the bulk of it, there's opportunity there. And also be mindful, like, I stalk everybody I work with every day on LinkedIn. What's changing? Did they open a new facility? Would a new lane make sense? Did they get a cross-modal solution? Are they getting into a new market? Is there an M&A going on? And what does that mean from an opportunity standpoint? You have to do your due diligence and think about, if you're not taking care of the people that you're already working with, none of the other stuff's going to matter, because that pipeline is a lot longer. You mentioned the touch points, Chris, could not agree more. My focus is always, I'm pretty damn lucky. I have some amazing folks I work with in the industry. I hope to work with them as long as it makes sense. But I'd rather do a good job taking care of the folks that I do work with than go out and extend my net too much and not provide top-notch service. Because in this market, regardless of what you do, that's what it's about. Yeah. 2 things we can control: who we put behind the wheel and how we communicate. Literally everything else.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. And I always like to give book recommendations. So if anybody out there who's like looking to start selling, again, like maybe this has fallen between the wayside and everything, you need to start with Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. And then the follow-up book to this, and I'm reading this right now, you guys, it's called The LinkedIn Edge, also by Jeb Blount. No, I'm not associated with him at all, but like have spent a lot of money on sales and business books over the last 5 years. Jeb Blount is the best author when it comes to systems and processes of overarching sales. He has the most comprehensive stuff that is out there that you can break it down into like relatable and current terms. So I think everybody, and again, these books, like this is $50. I'm not over exaggerating this right now, you guys. If you buy these 2 books, you invest these $50, if you actually apply what's in there, there is no doubt you're going to make 50 grand off of these 2 books if you actually apply it, minimum.
So Chris, I got 2 different ones. I'm going to go at it from a different, I have a huge bookshelf behind me. You can't see it, but this is called You Can't Send a Duck. I'll send it to you guys. You Can't Send a Duck to Eagle School. It's about, and it's by Mac Anderson. So You Can't Send a Duck to Eagle School. And it's about focusing in and honing in on your message and understanding. So if somebody's not interested in flatbed should not even be part of your dialogue, right? And it's about leaning into your strengths as a human and selling into the places that make sense. And then I like to know who I'm selling to. So this is Start With Why by Simon Sinek, because if we don't love what we do, the passion that we have, it is going to come through and we're going to fall flat. And in this market, your passion has to come through. And I've been trying to embody both of those. Know who I'm selling to and know my why and how it connects with their why.
It makes such a massive difference when you are prospecting somebody inside of your ICP, your ideal customer profile.
100%.
You can go in there. And because it's like, for me, it softens the rejection, because I'm a human being. I hate rejection as much as the next person, right? But at the end of the day, I know that it's actually not a rejection if I reach out to somebody and I find out like, no, we don't use flatbeds at all, but we're not setting up anybody. Okay, perfect. That's fine. Cool. No harm, no foul. Have a great day. And but again, it's like it helps me really hone in. And like from my perspective, it's like it's also helping us to where it's like when you're doing those follow-ups and you're doing those outreaches, I know now that if you're going to make 30 calls in a day, that you know all 30 of my calls are going to somebody who is legitimately inside of our target market. I would rather have that than somebody make 100 dials in a day and 90 of them are to blind nothingness.
Yeah, I totally agree. ROI is something that I think is really important that we talk about in the last couple of minutes we have here. And the amount, like the days of the spray and pray type model of just, I'm going to email 1,000 people or I'm going to call 500 randos. That is not an efficient use of of your time, regardless of which side of the street you're on or both, right? 2 shippers and 2 carriers. Know your audience, take a couple minutes, hell, use AI to do some digging for you before you make that phone call, right? Whatever will help you, because the reality is if you don't develop your people and invest in training and development, the cost is going to be profound. So you're going to have to post, recruit, interview. If you find talent in this market, which is really, really difficult, talent that actually wants to show up and work or work in the way that you need them to, really, really tough right now. That's assuming that happens, onboarding, tax setup, right? All of the things that go into it. And then that ramp up time where maybe they're not a productive member of your team yet. They're not just gonna, most people don't hit ground one, know all the systems and tech, know the process, know your value prop, know how to sell your company. So there's a delay. If you've got good people, take care of them. It is going to be far cheaper in the long run to invest in your people than to outsource, period.
You know, a mentor of mine, he says it best in an entrepreneur group that I'm in. He says, your employees are an investment. They are not an expense. Your team is an investment. And if you want them to operate in a certain way, you have to embody that, right? And I think like that's one thing. Yeah, it's taken a little bit longer than I had thought it was going to get our brokerage up and running. But I also look at it now is you know, from my perspective, we are in such a better position to grow because like, we've kind of worked out a lot of those kinks that a lot of businesses go through as they scale, right? Like we've got a lot of that stuff ironed out right now. And, you know, again, we're going to run into some shit before we grow and scale, right? Like that's going to happen. But like, it's taken us some time to really accept that like, hey, here's who we're going to go after. This is the direction that we're heading. And there's no deviation away from that. And I think like that is going to help those transportation companies stand out in the crowd here moving forward, are the ones who are like singularly focused in their outreach But yes, you guys, like I say, and there's some confusion when I say my ideal customer profile is open deck. Yes, it is. That's who I'm prospecting from a new business development perspective. But if I have a customer who I'm actively moving freight with that asks me, hey, Chris, we have this dry van load. Can you do this? Yes, I am going to service my customer at that time, but that is not my focus when I'm developing business, because I want that shipper that is like 90% flatbed, 10% overflow, some other stuff. And then that's where we can kind of come in and really work with that. But Eileen, thank you for your time. This flew by as I knew it always would, and it always does every time you're on the show. And how does anybody reach out to you though to find out more about what you got going on?
Yeah, so for sure, connect with me on LinkedIn. I love learning as much from you as hopefully you can learn from me. This industry is awesome because everybody's so willing to be open and share and transparent. I am happy to tell you all the things that I wish I would have known before being a business owner that I've learned the same way as Chris, like trial and fire, tornado style. But also just my email is super easy, apextideconsulting@gmail.com. You can ping me a note or ping me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect. And the cool thing about me, if somebody reaches out to me and they want something that is not in my area of expertise, or I think there's somebody better, everybody in our space, Chris included, some other consultants I work with, we're really good about knowing our ICP and where we add value. And if we don't add value in a particular space, who can? I'll also be with Chris at TIA Technovations later this week. So feel free, if you're going to be in Phoenix, Chris and I would love to see you. And then right after that, I'll be at Women in Trucking in Dallas.
Let's go. Eileen, that's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. If you guys can't find Eileen out there, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with her. But that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm get to the back.